All right, I'm Rebecca Gill. I'm from the Political Science Department and also from the Women's Research Institute of Nevada. And so I sort of span both of these worlds. Yep. And so I'll talk a little bit about kind of my experience going from someone who never envisioned myself as doing research that anyone would ever pay for, to being somebody that gets invited to talk at a thing like this. And so I think the first step for me was to think creatively about what my research is and what my research builds on and who would be building on my research. And that helped me to identify sort of a community that I could then look to see if there are other people who have done research, either similar in topic or similar in terms of what it ends up producing, like if it ends up producing a data set of social science information or something like that. Can I identify people who have done similar kinds of things and look to see which kinds of funders actually supported that? So I think this is the first stage. Now, in my case, I started small. I started with a relatively small chunk of seed money, and I used it to do a pilot study. And that pilot study was sort of a proof of concept. I was able to publish an article out of that and then use that to show, number one, that this was possible and useful, that it is something that journals would publish, and that I actually was the kind of researcher who could manage something like this because I'd done it. I could say, I know how many hours it's going to take a graduate student to produce this because we did it already. So I found that to be very helpful because it makes the proposal a lot less speculative. I actually ended up publishing the vast majority of my first NSF proposal as a standalone article because it had some of the pilot data in it. And that was obviously helpful for me to get tenure, those sorts of things. I think the next step, or a kind of a concurrent step with that, is to know what you need. So a lot of times we say, well, we want to get a big grant because we're supposed to get grants for stuff. And it makes my department chair and my dean really happy when I bring in lots of money. But you really have to know what you need the money for. What is this money going to be spent on? This is going to help you figure out, number one, if you really need a grant, and also what kind of grant you're going to want. If what you need is time, the NSF probably isn't a good place to go for that because they're not going to buy you out of a year's worth of coursework to do your research. So knowing what you need in terms of funding is really important to help you identify what your approach will be. And then I think the thing that I should have done but didn't, but many people have done since, is I should have asked the people that I knew that had submitted things to this particular program. I should have just asked them, hey, what did you do? Can I see your proposal? Because I get emails every other month or so asking me for a copy of my proposal. So I keep a redacted version of it on my drive and I share it with people because I find it. And some people will not. Some people will say, no, mine. But I will share it, and I'm sure there are lots of people like me who would share it. This will help you to get a sense of how successful proposals have addressed some of the specifics of the review criteria, that sort of thing, and just help to give you some confidence about how to organize your project to fit sort of what has been funded in the past. And then of course, I'm sure somebody probably would have said to actually speak to the, I know you said speak to people, but yes, speak to the program officer. What are you looking for? Here's what I'm thinking of doing. Does this fit? How would this align with your review criteria? Or what would I need to establish about my project to show that it has sustainability, or that it has a broader impact, or that it's got intellectual merit? And they will largely tell you. And that's useful. Then you don't have to sit in your office and just wonder. So I think that's where I'll stop for now.